Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I am Alex. For those of you who don't know me, I am an aesthetic nurse injector. I've been injecting for the past year and a half, and a very common question I get asked is how I got into injecting, if I have any tips on how to become an injector. So I've been kind of taking some notes, and I thought I would just make a video kind of going through how I got my job as an injector, and then my advice to become an injector, and if I didn't have my job, how I would get into injecting today. First, look at your state laws. Each state has different rules and regulations as to who can inject. In the state of North Carolina, you have to be an RN, an MP, a PA, or an MD. So I am just a registered nurse, but I am in to get my master's in family nurse practitioner, just to further my practice and further the abilities I can do as a nurse. I know, for example, in the state of Florida, you have to be an MP, a PA, or an MD. So the first thing is just to look into your state rules and legislation and make sure that it is within your scope of practice. So I started out as an ER nurse. I worked in the ER for about 2 years. I started in a small local community hospital, and then I went into a level 1 trauma center. I did that, and then I transferred into NICU. So I was a NICU nurse for about a year and a half at a level 4 NICU in Charlotte. I started going to a local med spa. I got connected with the manager online and started going there. I had really never had any idea about skincare or Botox injectables. I had no idea RNs could even do filler. And I started going there, and I would do facials, do microneedling, and she began to talk to me about how she was an esthetician. She was thinking about potentially going to nursing school so she could inject, but she had 2 little kids, and she was like, you know, is it even worth it to go through nursing school to inject? And I remember telling her, wait, I am an RN, I can inject. And she would tell me, like, come work for me. And it was something we kind of would talk about every time I saw her, but there was not any weight to it. I was not like, I'm gonna go be an injector. I thought I was gonna be a NICU nurse for the rest of my life, because I really did love the NICU. And I remember just kind of bringing it up to people, be like, oh yeah, Katie says I can work for her, and everyone would be like, you need to do it, you need to do it. And one day I was at work, and I was just Googling injecting courses, because I had no idea how you would even become an injector. And I found one in Charleston, South Carolina, which is about 3 hours from Charlotte. It was beginner injection course for neurotoxins and fillers. And I sent it to her, and I said, if you're serious about hiring me, I will take this course. And we kind of talked about it back and forth for a few days, and finally she texted me and said, take the course. And I was like, okay. So I took the course in April, and I began working part-time at the med spa. So I would work Wednesdays and Fridays from 8 to 12. And I was still working full-time in the NICU. So basically I was working Sunday and Monday night. I would come home Tuesday morning, and I would sleep for a little bit, try to flip back, go work 8 to 12 at the spa, come home at 12 on Wednesdays, sleep for a few hours, and then go to work Wednesday night, and then try to flip back on Thursdays, and then go work 8 to 12 in the morning on Friday, and then my only real off day was Saturday. And basically I was just trying to build a clientele, get really comfortable injecting until I could hopefully go full-time. And I did that from April to August, and then in August, thankfully I was able to go full-time. I basically could not flip back and forth. I was going crazy, and I just fell in love with injecting. So I thankfully was able to go full-time last August, and I've been there full-time for about a year, and it has been amazing. For anyone who's interested in injecting, it is a great career. It is definitely harder to get into, and I think everyone's story is a little bit different. I follow a lot of injectors, and their story of how they got into aesthetics is a little different than mine. But the bottom line is that even though it is a sought after market, it is 100% worth it. It just can take a little while to get into it. So here are some of the tips I would give anyone to get into aesthetics. The first would be to take a aesthetics course. I think that this just shows that you're dedicated. It helps they'll teach you anatomy, they'll teach you the basics of injections, what neurotoxins are, which ones are on the market, how they work, all of the fundamentals that are very important. A lot of people do ask which course I've taken. I took a course through Empire Medical Training. The Botox course was great. I would probably say if you were going to do it, I would do Botox, and don't spend the money on filler, because for the first 3 months of my career, I really focused on Botox and did not do any fillers, and just got comfortable injecting Botox and learning about Botox before I did fillers, because fillers can be kind of scary and they're a lot more complicated than Botox. So what I say is start with Botox, get comfortable. So take a beginner Botox course and get really comfortable. They'll teach you the anatomy of it, teach you the basics, injecting techniques, complications, all of that stuff. The second would be to, you know, do your research. I bought a Botox book off Amazon just to learn about the different muscles, the different muscle names, because you don't want to be injecting someone and be like, oh yeah, let's do your 11s. You know, using the proper terminology, I think makes people feel a lot more comfortable. So learning the muscles of the face, because I don't know about you, but the nursing school I went to did not teach anything about facial anatomy. We really didn't touch on it. So that is a whole new, you know, area that I was learning about. So learning the facial anatomy, the muscles, the major arteries in the face, and just getting comfortable with the anatomy before you start injecting. The next would be I would start making connections with med spas in the areas. So, you know, go in for a facial, go in for a Botox appointment, talk to the esthetician, talk to the injector you're working with, ask them, how did they get into this field? Are they looking for people? And really building connections, because one thing I found about the industry is connections are so important, and finding an injector to potentially shadow is great too. I do know a lot of med spas offer shadowing for injectors, so getting affiliated with that. I'm just building relationships with the med spas, potentially getting to go in and see what they do on a daily basis to make sure this is a field you're really even interested in before you invest all the money in it. So definitely building a relationship with the med spas in your area. I would also recommend messaging the med spas on Instagram. You don't know until you ask, and asking if they're looking for RNs, if they are in the future, if there's anything you could do to make yourself stand out, if they have the availability for you to come shadow them. So I think definitely getting in there, making yourself known, building a relationship with the people in the med spa will help. I took notes because I was forgetting what I was saying. Next is networking. So a lot of the injectors have a injectable page, so a business page that's separate from the med spa. I know I do. I know several in the area that do. So following those injectors, messaging, befriending them, asking if they hear anything, because a lot of the time it is the injectors in the practice that know about potential positions open. So messaging them, becoming friends with them. I know I have clients that get Botox and they tell me, if y'all ever hire an injector, please let me know. So I do know that when we do bring like an esthetician, or when we brought a front desk person, we usually advertise it on our Instagram page. So definitely following the med spas on Instagram and speaking to them, asking injectors how they got into the field, if they have any guidance, is huge. Education is just so important. I feel like this is a career that you never will feel like you are the smartest person in the room, and we are constantly learning. I feel like I learn stuff every day. You are constantly learning, so that is something to note. You're going to spend a lot of time in educating yourself and learning and staying up to date. The next would be experience. So I have seen a lot of nurses post that they are literally going to nursing school to inject, and I have a hard time with that, because bedside nursing is literally so important. It sucks sometimes and it is a tough job, but you learn so much from bedside, because in aesthetics, even though yeah, you're injecting Botox, it's a lot less stressful and demanding of a bedside nurse. You still have to learn how to manage complications. There is a possibility when you do filler, you inject it in an artery and they have a vascular occlusion, and you have to learn how to handle that in a calm manner and not let the client panic. There are plenty of times I've had a client that I've been doing filler on and they pass out, and I have to act quick, be calm, and handle that situation. And a lot of times I'm in by myself in the room and there's someone down the hallway and they're in a facial and I can't call them for help. So it's really important to get bedside experience, be familiar with medications, because patients can have allergies, they can get infections from the filler. So knowing medications, so if they do have that, you know what medications to prescribe to handle that. Do not skimp on bedside experience just because it is hard work, the hours are tough. Just getting your bedside experience is so important, and I would have a hard time if we were looking for a new injector hiring someone straight out of nursing school who had no bedside experience. I would rather hire someone that had bedside experience and had never taken a Botox course than someone who has no bedside experience but has taken like 5 Botox courses. The next would be to try to find a job in the industry. So even if your first job working aesthetics is not as the injector, finding something. So a lot of nurses who message me, I'm like, look, you work 3 times a week, get a part-time job as a receptionist, start in the front, get familiar with the business side of it, and then when they're looking to hire another injector, I would guarantee you'd be the first one they look into. Working in a plastic surgeon's office, a dermatology office, working as a medical assistant. I know a lot of injectors do have assistants, so those are the people that are holding, you know, the syringes, handing them syringes, switching out the needles, handing them gauze. So possibly an assistant. Working as in an IV hydration clinic would be a great opportunity. I've also seen laser clinics. They hire RNs to work their laser. Find what you can, get your feet wet, get comfortable in the industry, and make communications, or make relationships, do some networking, and then you can grow and find something that has an opening as an injector. So I think that's super important. So just finding what's out there. I would look for all of those jobs I kind of mentioned, build relationships there, build a community, make connections, and then look and see what's out there. And it's probably easier to move jobs from that than from breaking into the industry. So those are some of the things. I hope I didn't ramble. Sometimes I feel like I get on here and just talk and don't get my point across. Hopefully this helps you. That is my story on how I became an injector and my experience as an injector, and some insights on how to get into the industry. Literally the best job I've ever had, and I feel like I'm very passionate about it, and I honestly don't see myself ever doing anything else. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comments here. I have a personal Instagram, Alex McNeil, 2 X's, and then I do have a business page, I guess you could call it. It's Injections by Alex. Yeah, so it is Injections by Alex. Here's kind of what it looks like, and that's my page. So if you do have questions and want to message me, you can absolutely do so. I can give you advice, send resources, but just keep looking, see what's out there. Don't be afraid to hustle a little bit, work some extra hours, work a side gig, start from the bottom. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps. I am thinking about doing a day in the life as a nurse injector video soon, so follow along, see kind of what my day-to-day looks like. Subscribe and don't miss a video. See y'all soon.